Hey guys, Scott here. Today I just played the PTB for about 5 hours, played as and against Freddy, and I wanted to comment on the changes that have been made. A couple of things are a little concerning for me, and a couple of things make no sense to me, and a couple of things are really cool. So things I really like so far. The Dream Snare being a projectile now. I love me some projectiles. It reminds me of playing Artist that slows down instead of damaging. I like Artist, so I kind of like that whole playstyle. The ability to teleport to people that are healing is extremely massive and very, very impactful. Arguably one of the strongest things about his entire kit. And just simply having dream pallets to mislead people to path suboptimally is nice. It was never worth it because before you would have to dedicate an add-on slot to it that removed your snare, so it was pointless. But now that's an addition, it's just all good. You can just use it if you want or just ignore it if you want. It's an option you have now, and that's great. There's a couple of things about Freddy that don't make sense right now. So one of the things that doesn't make sense is the dream pallets now stun you for some reason. The things that aren't even real now stun Freddy. This was a bug before, but they seem to have made it a feature, and it doesn't really make much sense to me, and I'm not sure why that's a thing. It's to the point now where dream pallets are possibly even worse than before when they were already one of the worst things in the entire game. Now, there is a thing you can do with dream pallets called rupture, where you channel an ability, and after 1.5 seconds, I believe, the pallet explodes in like a small AoE and damages anybody nearby. The problem is you will never hit somebody with that ever in your life, unless they have no idea what they're doing or it's the first time they've seen the killer. Which, might happen a few times, but other than like being on, there's a couple of exceptions. Like there's a few maps like The Game, for example, where you have a hallway safe pallet that you can only go one direction. You can't really go any other way. I guess they could run back into you, but in that scenario, I mean, no, even then it doesn't really change that much. So the problem with rupture is it's extremely obvious when it's happening. So you can see the red circle appear and just walk out of it. Also, you can see dream pallets now. The dream pallets are highlighted in red. When you get close to them, you can just tell it's a dream pallet. So you know the correct play every single time when you get to a dream pallet is to just drop the pallet. Because if he didn't raise a dream pallet there, well, you're in an area with no pallet, so tough shit, you're getting hit. If you do drop it, well, you've disabled this rupture, but tough shit, you're getting hit because now you've dropped a pallet that doesn't exist. Or you eat the rupture, which is tough shit. Well, it's the same outcome no matter what you do, whether there's a pallet there, not a pallet there, or you rupture. You're just going to hit the person as if the pallet wasn't there. Now, there's a couple little nuances there, like one of them might be slightly better because they spend a second in the pallet dropping animation, and that's fine. So that might have get you a tiny, tiny little bit of value, but at that point, it's not really any different than the old pallets. Except actually it might be worse now because if you fuck up the rupture or something, they can just straight up stun you with an imaginary pallet. So it's got a couple of things that make it better, but then they added the fact that it can stun you to make it worse, which is just really weird. And again, rupture, you are just never going to hit somebody with rupture. It's way too obvious when it's happening. The size is too small. The delay gives you plenty of time to react. So there's a flow chart normally, but the problem is there's no skill expression when it comes to a rupture. The correct play when you get to a pallet that is fake every single time is to drop the pallet. That'll save you a headache. You can't get ruptured, double hit. You have to accept you're going to get hit regardless in this scenario. I guess what you could maybe do is if you were injured, you could try to get a stun on them, but I'm telling you right now, most Freddys are going to be running Enduring, so that's not really going to matter. Freddys are running Enduring because if you drop a Dream Pallet on them, the pallet breaks, but you're stunned. With Enduring, you just get the hit anyway. So I don't even think that's going to be effective because every Freddy is just going to be running Enduring. So I don't know what the point of Dream Pallets are other than the one kind of use it had before where it's to make people think areas are safe now, except even when they get to them, they can tell that they're fake now. So even that is worse. The misleading is worse because you can actually tell now. There's a couple of times at a distance you can use Rupture to zone people back into you for a second, but even then that doesn't work. Because all you do is run through the pallet and drop it. And what if, I'm doing it really, really early to the point where they can't get to the other side of the pallet and drop it. Okay, then run to the same side and don't hold shift and press spacebar and drop it. Like, there's still 50 things that survivors can do that makes Rupture pretty much useless other than like one or two very specific niche circumstances. So, I don't know. I feel like Rupture needs some kind of change or something because it's kind of pathetic as an ability right now. At the very worst, it's just a boring zoning tool that takes absolutely zero effort. And at best, it double hits someone that doesn't know what the power is, I guess. I don't know. I have not seen anyone use Rupture in any way that is impressive at all, and I just think that's because you simply can't. The snares themselves, however, are very effective as a chase power. There's actually an add-on that allows you to get 3 seconds of aura reading when you hit a dream snare. That actually makes Freddy very good. That add-on is probably going to be nerfed. I'm not telling them to nerf it. I'm just saying it's probably going to be nerfed. It's almost like rat poison tier, where it just gives you pretty much permanent aura reading of people in chases, and that's kind of ridiculous. So that makes Freddy really good if you run that add-on. And the snare itself it's like worse anti-loop than Clown. For example, Clown's gas, I believe, is at 18 or 15% slow, 18 with Bleach. And he can also have a 10% speed boost with Invigoration. So the speed differential can be, like 25%. So in terms of anti-loop, Clown is going to be always better than Freddy. This is a 12-second hinder for 4 seconds with an add-on to improve it to 5 seconds. So it's less good at loops that are anything but very short. It can be effective at short loops, but it's not like Clown where you can do one gas on one side, one on the other, force them to run back into it, and then you just outspeed them. Some of the pallets can actually still be outplayed, so it's weaker anti-loop than Clown. So he's kind of got like a bunch of things that are kind of okay and kind of not great, but the one thing that he has that is very good is his new teleportation. Being able to teleport to finish generators by itself is great. You can teleport to exit gates with an add-on, and you can teleport, most importantly, to survivors that are healing if they are not asleep. And this, in my opinion, is going to be a problem for, I think, the health of the game, because what I very, very quickly realized, I didn't do it because it's PTB and I'm not going to play like a dick, but what I very quickly realized is the ability to teleport to healing survivors heavily incentivizes a slug play style. And that is because you are constantly in a cycle of just reviving people. But in order to revive them without fear of teleport, you need to spend time waking yourself up. And if people are getting slugged and clocks are being used repeatedly, you might have to run 35 seconds to get to a clock, to get to someone, to be able to pick them back up again. But if you're snowballing, you don't have time to do that, and you have to pick someone up immediately, which means the Freddy can just teleport right back to the heal as it's happening and continue to pressure grouped up players over and over again. So I very quickly realized the slug playstyle is going to be very annoying on Freddy. Probably not as strong as Singularity with Knockout and stuff like that, but it's still going to be really obnoxious. And as we know, players tend to use the most effective strategy that they can find, and I did find very quickly slugging Freddy is going to be very obnoxious to go against. And it's just by design. The way the ability and the teleport works, it really, really incentivizes you to slug and go after, you're just skipping the entire hook stages. You're just going directly for constant teleporting pressure on healing people. You're able to very quickly outpace how quickly they're immune to sleep. Then, it depends on the map, but the whole point is I have a very strong feeling that that's going to be very obnoxious to go against. It will be admittedly very strong, and I think with that playstyle, playing as sweaty as possible, this Freddy might be like high B tier, actually pretty good. I would say playing normally, he's still like kind of low to mid B tier. He's definitely not bad. He's without a doubt 100% better. No question whatsoever. But it really incentivizes you to play in a very sweaty way, and I don't know if I'm going to jive with that very much. It's sort of like how Oni is incentivized to slug, but even without it, he can still do well. It's sort of the same scenario. You can still kind of do well against most people, but good survivors are going to give you a lot of trouble, and you're going to have to use these sweatier tactics to win because Freddy benefits so much from it. So overall, I think the rework is I wouldn't say it's a miss. It's pretty good. I'm just really worried about what a lot of players are going to do with this, because there's going to be some really obnoxious builds coming out with this, and that I feel like is going to be, unfortunately, another killer that everyone just hates, which I really hate seeing because it seems like every killer in the entire fucking game is hated at this point. But overall, I would say he's 100% better. His anti-loop is definitely stronger. Still not as good as someone like Clown, but it's still pretty damn good. And his ability to teleport is fantastic. The dream pallets are no better or worse than they used to be, other than the fact that you don't have to use an add-on for it anymore, which is great. But the rupture ability is almost pointless. Again, there's like 1 or 2 scenarios where I can think it actually might have some use, but you're not going to use it 99% of the time. If you get hits with the rupture, it's going to be maybe for the first week or 2, and then probably no one's ever going to get hit by it ever again, other than just simply learning what the killer does, because it is just a zoning tool and really nothing else. But other than that, I'm still open to learning things. I've had people come in and say, oh, X, X streamer did some crazy shit with the pallet. I was like, oh, cool. And then I view the clip and it's a guy just like jerking off, camping the pallet and going, what is this rupture? And then they get hit. And this chat's like, whoa, poggers. It's like, dude, he just fucking stood still under a bright glowing red circle. What? This is not meaning the killer is strong. It's just meaning like, by the way, that's what it looks like when you see a dream pallet when you're sleeping. So it's really obvious. So I don't know. I feel like they played it too safe. They did too many things that sort of incentivize a slug playstyle, and they added too many safety features for survivors when Freddy is one of the worst killers in the game. He didn't really need safety features. He just needed to be good. He needs to be strong. So I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about this yet. I'm going to have to play probably one more day to really get a good gauge of this, but I'm sort of like lukewarm on it as of right now. Curious to hear what you guys think, though. Thanks for watching. See you next time.